Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I will be sharing to you about the pros and cons on DIY and hiring an agency for your PR or student applications based on our experiences. So as you know, we are moving from Singapore to Canada and taking the student pathway. If you watch our mini-series, the 4 PR applications that we did for the past years was first the Express Entry in Canada, Quebec PR application, Singapore PR application, and New Zealand PR application. So these 4 PR applications that we did last time are all DIY or do it yourself. For the last 2 applications that we did was Australia's PR application and the Canadian student application. We engaged an agency to help us process our application. So I will be sharing to you our experiences on both sides. Yes, baby, I know. You want to join me? Come. Okay. Riley is here. She wants to join us and talk about this DIY and engaging an agency. She's in her pajamas already because it's nighttime and soon she needs to go to sleep. So based from our experience, DIY is much harder than hiring an agency. Alright. For the do-it-yourself or DIY, there are of course a pros and cons. We start to the pros. Number 1, you will save a lot of money because you don't need to pay an additional consultancy fee to an agency, and you can use this money for other, application costs or for an additional money for your proof of funds, whichever your applications is. Second, of course, you are in full control of your application, especially if you don't trust anybody about your applications, and you have the luxury of time to do everything about your applications. And the third one, of course, you will feel the ultimate satisfaction that whenever you got your approval for your PR application, of course, there's a fulfilling satisfaction that you will get whenever your application got approved. For the cons part, the very first thing is you need a lot of time to spend on researching, asking around, checking all the government websites of your specific applications on the rules and if there will be changes on the rules. So that's kind of like time consuming for your part, especially if you are in a hurry to lodge your application and get your approval. And another thing, when it comes to rules, it definitely changes every single time. So you need to be aware of, and like every day you need to check all those rules, and there's no one that you can ask for an expert advice. That's the cons that I am seeing in the DIY, because during our time, it's all up to us. Of course, we make sure that we are updated every single time if there are rules change. We read their website every single day and joined a group of chat groups to be aware of what are the other situations and experiences that other people had. Basically we have of course a checklist of required documents that we are constantly checking and making sure the templates and all the proper documents that need to be attached to your application. We locked off expert advice on which path that we should have taken previously, so that we don't waste our time, because processing a PR application is depending on a lot of factors. Mainly is your age. If you're older, of course your points is decreasing. So that's why time is very important. So you guys need to think if you will be going for a DIY or hiring an agent. Of course, not all of us have the same age. We have different situations, different age, and some are busy, some are not. Some have, a lot of time to spare for doing this application. So it's all up to you. So now let's take a look at the pros and cons on hiring an agency for your applications. Of course, for the pros in hiring an agent, you will be guided properly by the professionals and they can give you an expert advice based on your qualifications. And of course, those agents are constantly updated on those government rules. And another pros is that you will feel at ease knowing that an immigration expert is advising you and guiding you on all the documents, and especially if you're filling out those application forms, they will definitely give you an advice and correct your mistake. So, you don't waste time with regards to the processing time of each applications, that maybe you got a mistake on this application and the immigration officer sent it back to you and then you need to correct it, and there are a lot of times that will be wasted. So that's another pros on hiring an agent. You don't need to spend so much time on researching on the rules, templates, or documents that have been updated by the government PR applications. Your agent is constantly updated on those detailed information. They are experts on processing these kind of applications, your PR, whether it's permanent residence, student application, or any immigration applications that you will be going through. And of course, not all of us have a very straight qualification. Some people have complicated situation that an immigration expert can be helpful for a certain situation. So hiring an agent is very advisable to those complicated situations. So now we're going for the cons. Of course, the first cons for hiring an agency is consultation fee. You need to pay a consultation fee, which is, you all know, are very expensive. For our case, our consultancy fee for our Australian PR application was 5,500 Sing dollar, and that is almost 200,000 pesos. But of course, it is an installment payment based on the stage of your application. So for us, the total amount that we paid was 4,500 Sing dollar. That's about 160,000 pesos. And the last payment would be if we got an approval for him to process the visa. But up until now, of course, we don't have a news yet. For our Canadian student application, of course, we hire an agency as well. The pricing was 2,000 for student visa, another 2,000 for an open work permit, and a $500 for child. So a total of 4,500 Sing dollars. So it's 160,000 pesos. I know, it's a lot of money. It is. We did think through. If we do a do-it-yourself, it will really take time on our part. Especially now we are getting old. Yes, we're getting old and we don't have much time to spare, because if we waited and do it ourselves, we know for sure it will be delayed and our PR application will be affected. I mean, the score points with regards to our age. So we don't want to waste that. That's why I told you my last episode, it was tough. It was super tough for us on getting those proof of funds and lodging our application. But yeah, it pays off. So going back, another cons for hiring an agency or agent, there's a middleman between you and the immigration office. For our experience, our agent have their own GC key, their own login to the Canadian website. We don't see those status update of our application. So we're just waiting and waiting for our agent's email to us, what is the current update or something. So it's kind of like we felt so blind on it. Unlike those who did the DIY, they can constantly check their application status on their GC key or their logins in the Canadian government website. But for us, we don't have that. Okay, so the last cons is if you want something to do with your application, you really need to discuss with your agent, because you might need to convince them why you want these applications or this process or way that you want. So you need to make sure that you and your agent have common understanding and a good friendship or professional relationship, so that in the process of your application it will be smooth and no hassle on everyone's part. That's what we experience doing a DIY and hiring an agency. For us, of course, maybe it's just a coincidence that hiring an agency gave us an approval, because it's a very straightforward, I think, for the student application. But we just want to seek an expert advice. That's why we hire an agency. and especially our application is a family of 3 living in Singapore, and the home ties are tough. So those are the pros and cons on doing a DIY application versus hiring an agent to do your application on your behalf. In conclusion, it still depends. If you have budget, why not go for an agency? If you don't have budget, you don't have a choice but to do a DIY. Yeah, that's basically the first pros and cons for both methods. As for us, we don't have the budget, we don't have much time, so we compromise. We just get an agency and just pray harder. That's our key. So yeah, that's all I can say about the DIY versus hiring an agent. And I hope this video helps you to decide and to share a real life experience that we had. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you'll get notification whenever I post a new video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!